That's, when the voice of God comes on in the morning, you feel empowered. It's so good to be with all of you in person after 2 years of COVID hiatus. Welcome back to your Emerging Issues Forum, sponsored every year by NC State's Institute for Emerging Issues. And for 37 years, this forum has gathered people from all over North Carolina to really think about the pressing issues of our day. And this is no exception to that. Today, we're going to hear from experts, both from those within the forum and those from across our country. Many of you will participate throughout the day. In fact, this is a very engaged activity today. At NC State, you'll see it when you drive all over our campus. We have the banners that say think and do. And so that certainly applies to this forum. You're going to think a lot today. But when you're done with the day and with the event, we want you to think carefully about what you're going to do when you get back home in your communities and how you're going to put this information to work. Today's focus is the critical workforce for the state of North Carolina. And if the pandemic did anything, it shined a very bright light on the challenges with workforce that continue to propagate throughout the system today. And at NC State, of course, we're, like so many other institutions across the state, all about creating the workforce for the future of our state. We do it in so many ways. A few examples: Juntos is a program that launched at NC State, now replicated around the country to lift up Latina and Latino students and bring underrepresented students in critical areas of our state's economy. We also, within the institution, have the Chancellor's Leadership Development Program, which seeks to take rural kids from, often from underrepresented groups, and they come to NC State. This is a big place, 38,000 students. It can be overwhelming, particularly to young people that are coming from small communities, unaccustomed to such a large place. And so the Chancellor's Leadership Program is about helping young people really bring out their leadership skills and navigate a large place like NC State. We also have worked hard with our community college partners across the state. We call it the C3 program. It's a community college collaborative, 3 C's, you get it. It's early, come on, here we go, it's Monday. And that really is working well to make sure that all students across our state have a pathway to this university. And we're not alone in this. I mean, many of the public and private institutions across the state work hard to elevate communities and to make sure that students have a pathway. I'll give you one example right now at NC State. We're going through, many of you may have children or grandchildren in this process. We're going through admissions. We've had over 40,000 applications for our freshman class of 5,000. Yeah, that's right. And so it's a challenge, right? But something we work hard to make sure that if a young person's dream is to come to NC State, we're going to give them a pathway to do that. And increasingly, that's through our community college system. We also have been working to try to get our students to think about careers in the rural part of our state. The provost has been very supportive of internship programs where we get our students to go out in rural communities and provide their expertise to help elevate parts of our state. And when we think about what we're doing across the state, our industry expansion solution, which is really our extension manufacturing, our manufacturing extension service at NC State, which works with small manufacturers all across the state on critical issues in their industry. Our College of Education is working all across the state. The Belk Center is a great example of that, where the Belk Endowment has supported our efforts to elevate leadership through our educational program, and we're very proud of the number of community college leaders, particularly presidents, that have come through that program and graduated from NC State. Probably one of the most impactful things that we're doing right now at NC State to address workforce. Many of you have seen some of the recent economic development success in our state. All across the state, from the western part around Asheville all the way to the East Coast. And we've seen large companies make critical decisions to relocate or to build out in North Carolina. And every time they do, when they talk to the governor and they talk to Chris Chung and so many others, they talk about workforce. And at least in our case, we're the large STEM institution in the state. We have 11,000 engineering and computer science students here, but yet we've been asked to grow 40%. So we are growing engineering and computer science. That's a challenge, but it's a critical thing for the workforce. I'll give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going long-winded here, but it's Monday morning. I'm super excited. Every time we would lose to a big company that would locate in Boston or Austin, it was invariably a workforce issue. And you look at UT Austin and Texas A&M as two examples, and they're both ranked in the top 5 of engineering graduates in the country. We're 11th. We need to be in the top 5. And we've got the demand, and the way I know this is last year we denied admission to 1,600 North Carolinians to engineering that had a 3.85 or higher. That's 1B, 2 Bs maybe. That's a problem because all their parents call me when they went to Virginia Tech or Purdue or Georgia Tech or any number of places. So we've got the demand on the front end, we've got the demand on the back end. We just need to make sure that we grow in a way that's sustainable, and we're working with the legislature on that. And it's my real pleasure to introduce your new executive director of this great institute in Sarah Langer Hall. We are so proud to have Sarah at NC State, and so proud that she stepped up to lead the Institute for Emerging Issues. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, Sarah. Have a great forum.
Welcome, and thank you all for being here with us today. After over 12 years with the Institute for Emerging Issues, it's an honor to be standing in front of you as its newest director. For those of you that know me, you know that there is no place I'd rather be than right here, right now. We're here today in part to address the workforce shortage across the state. Prior to COVID-19, there was a general consensus among key NC stakeholders convened by our partners at My Future NC, that we need 2 million North Carolinians with a high-quality credential or post-secondary degree by 2030 in order to meet our workforce needs. But then the pandemic hit and created a number of big challenges, such as driving some people away from the workforce and also lowering the number of people going on for post-secondary education. Even with low unemployment, labor force participation has not rebounded to pre-pandemic levels, and in fact, it's been declining for decades. There are many efforts underway right now to grow and strengthen North Carolina's workforce, and while we can all acknowledge that the needs of businesses are critically important, so too are the needs of the workers themselves. As we considered how to frame a conversation around workforce, we took inspiration from the NC Department of Commerce's strategic plan, First in Talent. That inspiration motivated us to use our platform to lift up the state's attention and how we can better connect our most underrepresented workers to jobs in order to address the challenges of today, but also how key systems must transform to meet the evolving workforce needs. Thank you to Secretary Michelle Sanders and her team for adopting that plan. In addition to meeting the economic and social needs of underrepresented workers, we also know that bringing them into the workforce is good for business. Hiring diverse staff can lead to increased productivity and innovation for business. It can also lead to better workforce environments and an improved culture for retention and recruitment, just to name a few of the benefits. Today, we'll discuss the needs of 5 underrepresented groups who have historically, systemically, or due to the recent COVID-19 pandemic, faced challenges with finding work and staying engaged in the workplace. These include families with young children, transitioning military in their families, justice involved, or those who have been involved in the criminal justice system, opportunity youth, those 16 to 24 who are not in school or a job, and those who are disabled or neurodiverse. Now, these are not the only groups that face barriers, but in order to have a meaningful conversation today, we leverage the expertise of an advisory council to help us select 5 groups of workers to focus on. Thanks to a grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, IEI was able to convene a task force this fall to prioritize a list of challenges faced by each group. They also identified an initial set of recommendations and tactics for further exploration today. You'll hear more about that task force this morning and throughout the day. It's also important to note that these are not exclusive groups of workers. In fact, there is a lot of intersectionality that we will consider in our connection spotlights, which will explore best practices for engaging older workers, bilingual and bicultural workers, as well as rural workers. And once we've had a chance to discuss some potential paths forward and be inspired by what's already working, we'll begin a conversation about how to fund these efforts across the state. And even as we talk about what we can do today, we must acknowledge the transformation needed for a robust, healthy workforce so we can remain competitive in the future. So again, thank you so much for being here today. The Emerging Issues Forum, as the Chancellor said, isn't any ordinary convening. It's an entire day dedicated to learning new perspectives. It's a space to engage with others who can assist us in our work. It's a space to shape ideas and solutions, and it's a chance for all of us to be a part of something bigger and more important than just ourselves or our individual work. And as your host, it's important that I share some expectations that we have for all of you today. First, we want you to learn something new. There are a lot of people here, some who have been in this space for a long time, and for others, a talent-first framework is relatively new. But there is something new for all of us to learn. Second, we want you to share what you know and what you're learning. And I know for a fact that everyone in this room has something to share. We have plenty of people in this room with deep workforce development experience. We have people with lived experience or lived expertise who have faced barriers to employment. We have policy and decision makers, including several elected and appointed officials, members of our rural faith community, the media, and so much more. We hope that you will share what you know with people you know, but even more so with people you connect with for the first time today. We also hope you received the forum norms that were sent out in yesterday's reminder email and that you use them to guide you throughout the day. You'll have a chance to revisit those norms in your breakout sessions. And finally, we want you to do something with it. That means listening throughout the day for what you can do, because everyone here today has a role they can play. In fact, at the end of the day, we'll ask you for a commitment, a pledge to take action to help connect and engage more underrepresented workers in good jobs. We hope one of those actions will be to share what you learned with people who weren't here today, and that you will get them excited to take action. In fact, I want to take a moment to recognize members of our Talent First Economics cohort, 5 regional teams who are committed to growing their workforce by removing barriers to employment. If you're a member of the cohort, will you just raise your hand? Shake it real good so everyone can see you. All right, thank you so much for being here. Again, thanks to the U.S. Economic Development Administration, these regional teams have committed to learning and sharing through their participation in the NC State's new Workforce Development Leadership Initiative. They have committed to co-hosting regional action planning meetings over the next several months that are all about moving to action. So as I mentioned earlier, The forum is designed to be participatory. In fact, the success of this day will depend on it. We've designed several opportunities for you to engage through breakout sessions and lunch, networking breaks and lunch and breakout sessions, in conversations at your table, and in many sessions today, there will be opportunities to ask questions of speakers or share your ideas and feedback. We are also going to be using some technology to help us engage. So if you haven't already, please download the CVent app on your phone by scanning the appropriate QR code on your agenda, whether you're an Android or iPhone user. You can use the app to engage with the sessions, find out who's here today, and it's where you can find all of our speakers' bios and social media handles. This morning, we'll periodically ask you some polling questions, so please keep an eye out on your phones for those. In fact, let's try this out right now and get you familiar with how it works. So please open your app. I know usually we say put your phones away, but this time we're saying take your phones out. Please open your CVent app and click on the schedule icon that's at the bottom left of your phone. When you get there, select the welcome session, the session we're in right now, and there you should see a polling button. Please click on that to see the following question, which will tell us more about who's in the room today. So where are you coming from today? Are you coming from Western North Carolina? Define that how you like. The Piedmont, including the Triangle, Triad, and Charlotte. Or maybe you're coming from Eastern North Carolina. And I bet there's a couple of folks here from out of state. So let's take a few moments and let us know where you're from. You know, we've been so virtual for so long. Interested to see the result on this, okay. Well, I imagine that the results will keep coming on. We'll keep this slide up for just another second or so, but primarily from our Triad region, our Piedmont region, excuse me. So once again, thank you so much for being here today. A few more notes on technology. If you do tweet or hop on social media, be sure to use #TalentFirstNC so others can follow the conversation. As I mentioned earlier, you will also have the chance to submit questions for some of our speakers in two ways. Through the app, when you see that live Q&A has been activated within a session, and second, by sending an email to the email on your screen, emergingissues@ncsu.edu. You can also use that email address to let us know if the room's too hot, too cold, whatever. And finally, like all past forums, this one is made possible with support from corporate and foundation sponsors. Let me thank them by name. At platinum level, we have the Duke Energy Foundation, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, and Civic Federal Credit Union. At gold, the John M. Belk Endowment, Lowe's, and the Duke Endowment. At silver, Western Governors University, and thanks to our bronze sponsors, Blumenthal Foundation, NC State's Industry Expansion Solutions, Public Consulting Group, and Social Finance. We appreciate your support.